Hello, this is Dianne Cleveland. In this presentation, I will show you how to proceed through the NCRA workload tool and use the data from your facility to compare yourself to other facilities and plan for your workforce development. The tool was based on findings of the workload study and will enable you to compare your facility to the facilities that responded to the study. The purpose of the data collected and the tool that was created by the team is to assist you in estimating staffing in your facility and as a result, improve job retention and satisfaction. Ultimately, this tool will help you build a case to show how your registry differs from others. The full presentation is available on the Encore DVD for the 37th Annual NCRA Educational Conference. The Workload Study Toolkit has multiple steps. The first step is to compare your facility to the facilities that were studied. The second step is to calculate based on backlog how many staff you need to take care of any backlog cases that need to be abstracted. The third step is to do a time and motion study for any new or retired data items. On the first screen of the study toolkit, you enter on the first line the number of current FTEs in your registry. The next step is to calculate the number of hours you spend each week on non-registry or other department tasks and processes. This will be divided by 35 hours, which represents one full-time employee per week. Then you need to look at the chart in blue below, find the size of your registry based on analytic cases, and enter the number under the column marked FTEs. Once you've done this, then the difference will be displayed between the total FTEs, or true cancer registry FTEs, and the calculated FTE. If the number is negative, this means your registry is deficient in staff and you will need to add at least the displayed number to bring your registry up to the calculated FTEs, or in more comparison with the facilities that were studied. If your number is positive, then this means that your registry is different. The next sheet will give you examples of why your registry may be different than those that were studied in the workload study. We also have listed here the core registry activities that are considered to be cancer registry processes. So on the next page, we have listed here reasons why your registry may not match up with those of the calculated or studied facilities. The first example is, does your cancer program offer both radiation and clinical research? If so, the workload study found that registries were more complex and did differ from other registries. Do you have a high number of follow-up cases for the size of your registry? If you don't know if you have a high number of follow-up cases, you can use the chart below under weekly estimates, active and passive follow-up, and use the mean or the median hours per week spent on follow-up. If you're spending more than this number on follow-up, then this means you have a higher number of follow-up cases for the size of your registry. If this is the case, then there's several things that you can do to reduce the number of hours spent on follow-up. For example, you could engage the medical staff in developing more efficient and effective ways to obtain follow-up information. Also, if the registry's follow-up is so inadequate that older data have become corrupt or unreliable, consider moving your registry's reference date. You must first check with the Commission on Cancer Rules to see if this is an option for your cancer program. Also, if the registry is understaffed with respect to its workload, construct a strong rationale for adding the necessary staff. Another reason why your registry may be different is considering how much data is available electronically. The workload study was very clear. It takes significantly more staff to case find manually than electronically. Also, does your registry collect additional data items? Consider the data items that you're collecting outside of the core data set required by your state and the Commission on Cancer. Also, consider the no longer required and retired data items and the collection of these, and try to eliminate as many as possible. But what if your registry is not the size on the chart? Either you have fewer than 100 cases or more than 3,500. There's insufficient data from the workload study. However, a time and motion study would be recommended. Also, if your facility has more than 3,500 new cases, you could use a matrix and add 1 FTE for every 500 additional cases. Okay, let's talk about backlog. Many of the facilities studied did not meet the 6-month requirement rule for completing cases. And for that reason, we've developed a step in which you calculate the backlog that you have to represent full-time employees. So here's the example. We have a registry with an annual caseload of 1,000 cases and has a completion rate of 60%. In other words, 400 cases were not completed in the required 6 months. Using the matrix below, you can divide the number of cases that were not completed, such as 400, by 500, where 500 represents 1 full-time employee, to display the number of FTEs it will require to be compliant with the 6-month rule. Many people wondered about the new data items that were added in 2010. And for that reason, we've come up with a method using time and motion study to calculate how much additional time was required to abstract a new case. In this example, we're looking at the breast site-specific factors. In 2010, there were 18 data items added. And if you calculate the time that it takes, in this example, 2.5 minutes for each data item, and multiply that times the new data items, which is 18 in this case, then it takes 45 additional minutes to abstract a case. Multiply that number by the number of cases for each year, and that will give you the hours required just to collect the new data items for the breast cancer cases. Then you would divide that by the 1820, which represents 1 FTE, in order to come up with the number of FTEs required to abstract the additional data items for only breast cases. We've also listed all of the site-specific factor data items on the next tab. for breast cancer. And we've also included colon cancer, lung cancer, and prostate cancer. On this page is a link to the time and motion study for the collaborative stage and American Joint Committee on Cancer TNM 6th edition staging information project that was in the Journal of Registry Management in the fall of 2006, so that you can get more information on how to run a time and motion study. Thank you very much, and I hope that this workload toolkit will be very useful in calculating the number of staff required in your registry.